RAYNET-UK RAYNET. This is G4NRC, Golf 4 November Romeo Charlie, operated today by Greg, Golf 0 Delta Uniform Bravo, serving as net control for the RAYNET-UK Weekly Activity Net. This net meets each Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time and is open to all amateur radio operators. The primary purpose of the net is to provide the opportunity for members to test equipment, exchange traffic, news, opinions and information, and additional information can be found at www.raynet-uk.net. This is a direct net, which means all calls are to be made to the net control station unless you're advised otherwise, and all RAYNET UK operators are invited and encouraged to check into the net. When you do check in, please give your call sign slowly and phonetically, followed by your name. If you wish to leave the net immediately, then please call in and out. Otherwise, make it clear on subsequent turns that you want to leave at that time. And I'll begin taking check-ins to the net as usual in call sign number order. If you miss your turn, I will call for strays at the end of the UK stations and international. So let's start with stations with figure 8 in their call sign. Please call now. This is G4 and RC.
Golf 8 Echo Yankee, G-A-E-E-Y, name is Mike.
This is G4 and RC. I've got Mike, Golf 8 Echo Yankee. Any other 8s, please? G4 and RC, over. Heard, so it's down to the 7s. Any stations with figure 7 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 and RC, over.
G708, Golf 7 November, Echo Hotel, good afternoon, Greg.
SF Bridge, which makes it interesting. AM7 AVO saying he can't hear me. Any other 4s, please, for G4 and RC, over.
G4WQB, in and out, but listening through.
G4NRC. Okay, so good afternoon, Keith. Golf 4 Whiskey Quebec Bravo, who's in and out. Let's go for 3. Stations figure 3 in their call sign, please. G4NRC, over.
Golf 3 Victor Echo Hotel, G3VH Winchester. Good afternoon, Greg. It's Stevie Winchester. In and out this afternoon, but listening through. G3VH.
Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray. Ian. G4NRC. Good afternoon, Chris. Golf 3 Victor Echo Hotel. Hopefully enjoying the slow exodus of students from the university. Noted you're listening through the rest of the net, though. And good afternoon, Ian. Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray. Any other 3s, please? G4NRC, over. Nothing heard, so it's the 2s. Stations with figure 2 in their call sign, focused as well on the intermediate 2s. Please call now. G4NRC, over.
2 Echo 0 Charlie Sierra, calling from Midway.
E4NRC, good afternoon, Colin. 2 Echo 0 Charlie Mike Sierra. Any other 2s, please, over? Nothing heard, so it's stations with figure 1. Figure 1 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4NRC, over.
Mike 1, X-Ray Echo Alpha. It's Peter, and can it be in and out this week? Thank you, Greg.
Golf Mike 1, X-Ray Echo Alpha, G4NRC. Okay, no problem, Peter. You'll hear too much from me tomorrow evening anyway. So you're in and out. Any other 1s, please? G4NRC, over. Nothing heard, so let's have the Mike 0 stations. Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier. Please call now. This is G4NRC.
This is Mike 0, Golf Uniform Yankee. In and out for me as well, please, Craig, today. Mike 0, Juliet Sierra Alpha Hour, Suffolk. Mike 0, Juliet Victor Zulu, Les in Loughborough.
This is G4NRC, so I've got a guy, Mike 0 Golf Uniform Yankee, who's in and out. Alan, M0 JSA, and Les, M0 Juliet Zulu, staying with me. Any other Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please? This is G4NRC, over. G4NRC, nothing heard, so let's have the Golf 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please. This is G4NRC, over. G4NRC, second call for any Golf 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, over. G4NRC, any UK stations who've missed their turn to call in. Any UK stations who've missed their turn to call in, please call now. This is G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, G4 NRC, G7 DPE, over.
Golf 7 Delta Papa Echo. Good afternoon, Jim. Okay, now let's go for any international liaison stations. Any of our colleagues from abroad, usually notes I'm bound in Norway, Aaron in Ireland, Aries in Slovakia. Please call now. This is G4 and RC, over.
Echo India 5, India Echo Bravo. It's Tom here for Ireland, Dublin. Greg, no traffic from me, so in and out.
G4 and RC. Good afternoon, Tom. Echo India 5, India Echo Bravo. Copied you in and out. Guess you'll be listening for the first few minutes anyway. So thanks for joining us. Okay, any station who've missed their turn to call into the RAYNET-UK activity period, please call now. This is G4 and RC, over.
Mike 0 November Echo Delta, Pete Albion in Outbreak.
Mike 0 November Echo Delta. Copied, Pete. Thanks for that. I copied you in and out. So, okay, you just phased me with the change of presented DMR ID coming up as a 2E. No problem. Okay, slightly short of our 1% of stations today, but of the network, but close enough. So good afternoon, everybody. Usual reminder, the net is being live streamed by Graham, G7NEH to YouTube today. Live stream and recording are available by searching G7NEH, that's Golf 7 November Echo Hotel on YouTube. I've been out assisting Merseyside RAYNET on a coastal walk around the Wirral today, and with the thunderstorms yesterday, and the thunderstorms currently over North Wales, Manchester, and down in the south, East Grinstead. We're looking at you as well for thunderstorms. Poses a little question in my mind as the talking point for the day. If you're on an event with antennas high, what action do you take to avoid or mitigate lightning strikes? And when do you know it's safe? That should be a nice open topic. I will say early, giving the mic to the youngest operator on the event is not a way of avoiding it. This isn't like passing things over to the apprentice. So see what that does for people's thought processes. Golf 8, Echo Yankee, E4 and RC, over.
G4 NRC from G8 DEY. Well, I'll give you the weather report first from this part of the world. 26 centigrade, 1015 millibars, 53% relative humidity, 22% cloud cover, and 11 mile an hour winds from 102 degrees. And we've not had any of the thunderstorms over on the eastern side of the UK. I've been watching them going up the middle and up the left, as I call it. I've always worked on the principle of keeping antennas as low as possible if there's any sort of storm brewing. I had to give advice when I was at the receiving end of a radio links from Mousehold Heath in Norwich. And there was a big flash and bang behind them. And they said, "What do we do now?" I said, "Drop the mask, come home. No point in taking any risks." And we did a club-based fox hunt from down on the river where the, what am I looking for? The sugar factory is. And it was a good view of the horizon from there. And I got about 10 metres up, I suppose, with the antenna there. And while I watched the firework display sort of start off and the rain started to hit, I did a rapid deployment, or undeployment. There's no point in taking any risks. And it's always worth making sure that whatever mast you've got, if it's conductive and you're out mobile, make sure you've got an earth cable going into a stake somewhere. And I don't mean driving over an earth rod with your wheel. It definitely needs to go into the ground at least. From G8EEY.
Golf 8 Echo Yankee G4 and RC. Yep. It's understanding when that season is as well, I suppose. We've had some forewarning that the thunderstorms are coming. So Blitz or Tongue, which I'm sure somebody's going to make me spell before the end of the net, is my usual go-to for identifying when storms are likely to be in my area and keeping an eye on them. Not actually have to be in the same position as you of having to close a station or dropping antennas low. It's usually been on us too late if you haven't got that ability to watch something from another service letting you know if the lightning's getting close. So that's a useful input. Of course, we have to remember the people with fixed infrastructure like our repeater keepers, although Graham keeps his antenna inside the house, so he's got to go some to upset Graham's repeater. G7NEH, G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, G7NEH, sorry about that. Good afternoon, Greg. Good afternoon to all on the net. And yeah, very warm afternoon here. And I disconnected my HF antenna last night during the storms, and just been looking at the lightning map for the UK. And as you say, Greg, there's lightning in Manchester way. So whether it's coming this way, I don't know. But it potentially could do. There's clouds coming over. So there we go. As you say, I've got the antenna for GB7WX in the loft. So that shouldn't be hoping that shouldn't be a problem, but I don't know. Yeah, last week's views for the net on YouTube were 27 views and 3 likes. And apologies for this week, those watching the stream will see that there's no YouTube chat window on. For some reason it wouldn't play ball this week, I don't know why. And I didn't have time to actually go messing about with it. So there we go, not a lot else to add from me. Not done much radio-wise this week, if anything. So with that, back to you. G4NRC, G7NEH. G7NEH, G4NRC returning. Okay, shame there's no chat window available. It does remind me though I'm not as good as I should be at asking you for any feedback from the chat if there's anything coming through. Do see that Dave M7AVO is still having difficulty getting on after you've rebooted he's rebooted his hotspot. So misbehaving hotspots for Dave today. That's why we do the weekly tests. Next to Trevor, G4KUJ, G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC and the group G4KUJ. Yeah, good afternoon, Greg and everybody else. As you quite rightly noticed, I'm coming in through the YSF bridge, no problem whatsoever. I did find just before 1 o'clock today that the bridge wasn't working, and I pinged a note to Guy on chat on Teams, and he did a reboot, and it all came back up okay very quickly. So I don't know if that's part of Dave's issue. Just wonder, I mean, last time it was because it had dropped off the register. My hotspot stays on all the time, so I think if it works on the basis that if the reflector is there, it will work, even if you've missed it on the drop-down list because you have let's rephrase that. If your hotspot's been turned off and it's missed the update where the server was missing, you probably won't connect to it. But if you've got leave your hotspot off on all the time, and it then goes off temporarily but comes back, you will pick it up when it next comes up, even though it's not on the drop-down list. Sorry, it's a difficult way to describe that. Apart from that, been away for a couple of weeks, as you're probably aware, but did manage to get on the Sunday's net for a few minutes. And interesting, the IARU Region 1 JSA call exercise earlier this afternoon. My sum total on 40 meters was 4 stations in the UK and 1 in Holland, and I did a spell on 20 meters with no results whatsoever. So more on that later, Greg. G0DUB, G4KUJ.
Both double dip then. G4KUJ, G4NRC returning. Yes, thank you for the reminder that after the commentary last week that the YSF bridge had disappeared off Pi-Star. It did come back once the server was back up again. I will have to look at whatever error messages I got while I was out on the event today with Merseyside to see if I got any prompts to say what times things went down or up again. So at least you've got YSF working. Looks like M7AVO sent a picture through I haven't had time to look at yet, which would imply it's dead, Jim. To amplify for others, IARU Region 1 Emergency Communications, for which I happen to be the coordinator, now got monthly activity periods on Kilo 100 and also on JS8 call on 40 and 20 meters. So I had to race back from the event to get on for the last hour or so, and actually carried on going a bit beyond the end of the exercise to see who was still there, but just to get people using JS8 call more frequently, check propagation and so on an international basis. So I did see you via a relay on 20 meter, Trevor, which was part of what I'm going to try and promote, that the more you're on, the more you'll figure out who you can relay through as necessary. We'll do it that way. Okay. As we move down towards some of the other stations on the net, when I'm thinking lightning protection, some might say fuse arresters, surge protectors on coax. But don't forget, many people now fly Ethernet bridges and microtic routers and all sorts of other things up into space. So there are lightning protection devices available for Cat5 as well. Golf 3, Zulu, over to you, Ian. G4 and RC, over.
G4NRC in the group. This is G3ZHX in Aylesbury. The thunderstorm has arrived since the net started, but it doesn't seem to be too active. I've just come to the door and I can hear it rumbling in the distance, but no visible lightning flashes. In the event of a lightning storm, if you get into a car, you're fairly safe, provided it's not a soft top. The metal of the roof will give you some sort of Faraday cage screening, and the fact that you're not in contact with the ground also protects you against ground currents, which can be a big problem. You don't need a direct hit to destroy radio kit near you, because of the very high currents involved and the sharp edges. The fallout from a lightning strike does extend much further than the actual visible effect. Anyway, with that, I'll hand it back to you. Good afternoon, everybody, if I didn't say that, and this is G3ZHX.
Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray, G4 and RC returning. Yes, I think there's some very good videos of guys driving a car around a high voltage test lab where the car is getting absolutely smashed by 400 kV or higher. Pulses going through the car, it all goes around the outside. Planes get struck by lightning as well. but it's all about the bonding. So bringing in something into your safe Faraday cage will still something will go through you as the car charges up via you and the cage itself, I suspect. But it will hit equal potential fairly quickly. So you're right, fairly safe. Just could still be very interesting, very noisy. Okay, now to Colin, to Echo Zero, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4NRC, over.
Yep, from 2E0 CMS, yeah, afternoon all. Strangely enough, I haven't actually got any equipment installed at home, so no antennas or anything. The only antennas I've got is on the car. And strangely enough, that's actually inside the car at the moment, because if it does tend to rain quite heavily, because of the way I've got the cable routed, the rain tends to follow it in and it gets damp in the car. So I only tend to stick it on the car when I want to use it, but there you go. It does still work while it's hanging in the car, but obviously not quite so well. On to other things. I've been looking at the resilience of Starlink. What would happen if ground stations failed in the event of power failures and stuff like that. Although most of them are fibre optic, so not too affected. But even if they were, the Starlink satellites, especially the latest version 2s, actually link to each other via laser. And it would basically just find another link and either connect to Europe or beam the signal across to the States. So that's actually looking fairly resilient from our point of view, so that's good. So eventually, if we had a countrywide blackout, we would still be able to use voice over internet, maybe even the radio things as well, because most of the servers seem to be based in America. So that looks useful. And on the subject of resilience, Kent Fire and Rescue have contacted Kent RAYNET this week and asked for a demonstration of the Starlink, following an event we did for at the tail end of last year where we used it. Their resilience communications team has now asked for a demonstration, so we're in the process of organising that. Apart from that, I haven't got anything else to add at the moment. So back to you, Greg. G4NRC 2E0 CMS.
To Echo Zero, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4NRC. Well, it'll be interesting if you can hit your instruction manuals for Starlink, because I'm thinking of all the ones I've watched being installed on YouTube and by the people who wander around in camper vans and so on. Not seen any hint of any of those things being grounded, even though to get the best cover, some people do put the Starlink up on a very big stick. So I wonder how well that, or whether it does call for any grounding of anything anywhere. I had seen that the satellites would communicate with each other to find a path to ground, but what that brought to mind was when somebody, after the 7/7 bombings, put the restrictions on phone capacity, it had the inadvertent effect of blocking calls from some satellite phones back into the country because it shuts down any international links as well. So Starlink to Starlink, fine. Starlink to a ground station and then to something else that might need to get back into the UK somewhere that's not affected might be difficult, but this is what we do. Let's get the system and throw rocks at it until we find all its good points and bad points. But yes, well, I'm interested if permanent Starlinks do have any lightning protection. Right, still managing expectations. A reminder that in a couple of weeks' time, G7NEH and myself will be on our way back from Friedrichshafen and therefore will not be running the net on the 25th. So looking for some people to think about whether they can support running the net. Please let me know by email if that is so. Over to you, Alan. Definitely not last today. M0JSA, G4NRC, over.
Yeah, good afternoon, Greg. Good afternoon, everybody.
No, not last, got those back. I haven't heard those for ages. Good afternoon, Liz. Nice to hear you on. Yes, I was thunderstorms. I don't get thunderstorms on this side of the country. Not very often, anyway. Over here in the east, you get more the other side of the hilly stuff. But yes, it's a good question. I think if there's thunderstorms about, I would go down onto handheld radio on a duty if I could get away with it. Certainly wouldn't want me sitting in the middle of a field with a 10-metre mast up, that's for sure. It's very hot here. It's been hot all day. It's 24 in my shack, and that's got a little window and faces west, so it's definitely hot. I've been on the field, our local club site all day, trying to keep cool, sat in the shack. That was helpful. But I had a good day. Radio this week we've been playing with old school, really, D-Star. D-Star with pictures, sending pictures using the D-Star Android app. And very good fun it is too. It's very primitive really compared to things like WhatsApp, which we're used to on a smartphone. But if the internet was down, that would work. Provided your local repeater was up and supports it, and its internet is not down. But for local simplex, the ability to be able to take a picture on your smartphone and send it by D-Star to the control would be probably useful. That's just a pity the equipment is so expensive. The D-Star is the most expensive of them all, but it does seem to all hold together really, really well. It's a shame that they invested a lot of money in other technologies like DMR. Back to you, Greg, G4NRC, M0 JSI Group.
M0 JSA, G4NRC returning. Okay, noted revert to handheld radio and go sort of past the parcel rather than covering a massive area, doing a lot more message relaying if you had electrical storms in the area. Also that you've been using D-Star, presumably D-Rats or something like that for sending pictures. What Graham G7NEH and I did one time was use Slow Scan TV, which fulfilled the same effect. Again, an Android app on the phone, but just held the phone next to any old radio and the slow scan got through. Certainly on analog. Might be interesting to try it on, not the main talk group, but on one of the Cheshire ones, to see if we can get a picture through over DMR, going a bit old school as a modulated tone. But all tools in the box, and as you say, if the internet's down, it's what we could do. And I've come across a paper, can't remember the proper title of it now, but somebody thinking about what's the effect of another Carrington level event on the internet as a whole, and highlighting that all these fibre optics still need power across the ocean. So where does that come from? The cables are affected by a bit large solar storm. And most of the data centres are actually at latitudes which would equally be more affected than others. So unless we can get some big data centres kicking around either at the equator or up at the North Pole to spread things out a bit, it's highlighting some new vulnerabilities and the need for a bootstrap network to bring everything else back up again if the worst happened. Okay, thanks Alan. Next to Les, and then we've got one more left. Mike 0, Juliet Victor Zulu, G4 and RC, over.
G070JBZ, yes, all okay. When I was doing the full license training with Bristol and Bath people, we talked about lightning, and what was basically discussed was a resistor down to ground to take away the static. So what I've got a very big 100,000 ohm, 1,000 watt solid carbon resistor, which I had in my box from my military days. And it's cut out most of the noise I had on HF, and B, it's taken away a lot of other annoying things. So I don't know whether that would actually work in a lightning storm. I don't know. But most of my aerials are in the loft. I've got one. It's an ATAS, a Yaesu ATAS outside. So I don't know whether that would really figure in this. Anyway, the reason I've not been on recently, well, for a while, I've been in hospital, poorly sick, but I'm not anymore. Also, I had major internet problems, and what they had to do, BT had to do, was dig up the road, take out all the wires, and we're now on full fibre into the flats where I live. And I had an issue with my DMR hotspot jobby, which Paul from Derbyshire Dales RAYNET, I've forgotten his call sign, he very, very kindly sorted out for me. Basically took the Raspberry Pi to pieces and put it all back together again, and it's now working beautifully. That's about all I've got. So I won't be on again, Greg, so I will catch everybody all being well next week. So this is Mike Zero Juliet Victor Zulu.
Mike Zero Juliet Victor Zulu, G4NRC. Right, high resistance to ground was a staple of the front end of a lot of old TVs. Not sure what new ones do, but yes, that was definitely a thing. The other one people would use was an old spark plug with open wire lines, and you could make something up that would make a spark gap, so if the voltage got too high it would flash over outside the house and go down to a ground spike rather than coming inside. And the other one that sprang to mind was that folded dipole elements, or even Slim Jims, because there's a natural short circuit at the end, stops that effect of a very large spike from a nearby lightning strike imposing itself too much on the front end of the radio, because you've got that impedance across the inner and braid of the coax. Well done on getting your area up to fibre to the premises. We also got on the hospital visit, of course, but getting them to recable the whole area early does seem a bit of a winner. It's setting me thinking now about the BT box outside my house and not being likely to get fibre to the premises till the end of 2026, I think is the latest. So we will persevere here for a while. Okay, copied you out on this one. Thanks for chipping in. Let's hopefully talk to you next week. Next to Jim, Golf 7, Delta Papa Echo, G4, and I'll see you.
Yeah, thank you, Greg, G7DPE, and a very good afternoon to you and everybody else that's in the net. Quick weather report. Temperatures dropped by 5 degrees since the net started. It's now currently 24 degrees centigrade. In the midst of a thunderstorm, about 12 miles south of Ian, G3ZHX. So it's trying to rain hard here, but it keeps on stopping and starting. So it's heading your way, Ian. Quite a big storm coming up from the south by the looks of things. 1,013 millibars, 11 kilometres an hour wind. So it's not going to go anywhere very fast. It's been a bit iffy for the last sort of hour or so. I decided it would be good times to get the Hustler 6B TV down and lay it ground level. The thought of 10 metres of metal stuck in the air didn't really appeal to me, so everything's disconnected. So it looks like we're in for a bit of a rocky ride tonight. And I'll pass it back to you, Greg. G4NRC, G7DP, over.
7 Delta Papa Echo, G4NRC. No problem, thanks for that, and for the reminder of how temperatures drop quite severely ahead of these kind of storm fronts. I had a drive to the north last weekend, or was it the weekend before, where the temperature just dropped by the virtue of about 5 degrees just because I went from Liverpool up to the Scottish border. not so much storm related, more geographical, I'm sure. Right, by the power of telepathy, I'm going to call in Dave, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar, in the Hope His Hotspot is now playing nicely. M7 AVO, G4 and RC over.
G4 MRC, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar. Hope you're getting me now, Greg. Fired up the radio and did the normal sort of 10 to 4 clicking, and the dashboard all lit up, and the RAYNET DMR we were getting through, and then come 4 o'clock and total silence. So we've been rebooting and updating, and hopefully it's all working now. Gabby, your question was to do with lightning, and we did have some spectacular thunder and lightning yesterday evening. I was just next door was setting up for a barbecue, which put the muckers on that, I think. But I did unplug the coax on the HF sets, which are the higher antennas, and the 2 meter set in the back room here where the radios are set up. I do when I get thunder and lightning, but other than that, there's no way you can quickly drop these antennas. So I think for me it's cross your fingers and hope for the best, Greg. Back to you, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar.
7 Alpha Victor Oscar, G4 and RC. Okay, well, you are definitely up and running again now. I think the screenshot you sent through did imply that SD card might be getting a bit sick. I'm talking to one of the Merseyside members earlier on this afternoon on the event. He was equally having problems with a flaky hotspot that he expected might be an SD card getting tired again. So we did well. Everybody seemed to fail in pretty much a wave as we went through COVID and the frequent nets then. So we're probably due for another wave of SD card failures now. So just please check your systems. Dave's comment about unplugging coax during a storm last night reminded me of a friend who lived at the time in a thatched cottage in the middle of Cheshire. He unplugged his feeder to protect the radio and dropped the feeder into a glass jar, thinking that would be okay. Storm came through in the middle of the night, and he was awoken to a blue glow from the corner of the room, and the PL259 dancing around inside the jar as it was desperately trying to discharge itself. That's really one where there's nowhere you can go once it's in that situation. You will just watch it and hope. Okay, that was good conversation from everyone on the topic. So it's been a long day for those who have been out doing events and otherwise. So I'll go round for any finals and any further observations from people. Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee G4 and RC over.
G4 NRC from G8 EEY. Yeah, some interesting stuff. I always think that if you're going to disconnect your feeder, you need to a short circuit or a termination of some sort on it to allow the cable to not build up charge, because that is not good. The main thing is that if you've got blast or anything pointing upwards, what you really need is for that to have a sharp bit on the top so that it will leak away the charge into the storm cloud above you, rather than dissipate the strike. That's always the best way. I've always found that I always know when a storm is about to happen, because as you say, the temperature plummets and you get an updraft. You feel the wind coming at you from all directions and going upwards. What else have I scribbled? Yes. This here storm, well, no storms actually, it is split. One is now north of Manchester, that area, but going over as far as Leeds. In fact, there's 1 or 2 strikes now have happened in the North Sea. But there's a big column from Winchester right the way up to Peterborough with storms along there. And yes, it's blitzautumn.org that I use. It's running now, and I usually run WeatherQuest radar 24/7 on the computer, so I can always check to see what is going on. Carrington, well, at that sort of level, I think you're going to lose the satellite belt, mostly, on an event like that. So, yeah, well, whatever happens after that is another thing. From G8DEY, and thanks for running the net, Craig.
Echo Yankee G4NRC nearly beat me for finishing typing up this thing. Yeah, I came across the link to this academic paper or conference paper and downloaded the paper, didn't download the link. So I need to find it again by devious means, and I'll read it properly and find a way of sharing it, no doubt, at some point in the future. Because it is the kind of thing that space weather is now on the National Risk Register and your local resilience forum, local risk registers, for what are the consequences that might cause them to have to do something. And data centres and such like are no longer the reserve of capital cities or large provincial towns. They're everywhere. So it would have some very unusual and unforgiving and unpredictable effects if data centres decided to retake enough power and do their own thing. Okay, Mike, thanks for coming on today. Talk to you next week. Next to Graham for a final. G7NEH, G4RC, over. Golf 7 November Echo Hotel, G7NEH, G4NRC, over.
From me, Greg, really. So, views we've had today so far on the net have been 9 and 2 likes. So, thanks to all those that are viewing, just to hit that like button. That would be very much appreciated. And a thank you to those that have subscribed over the past couple of weeks. Again, very much appreciated. And as Greg said, we'll be in Friedrichshafen in a couple of weeks. And I will be doing some videos from there and hopefully uploading them sort of on that day. So subscribe and you'll get notified. Okay, with that, back to you. Thanks for doing the net, Greg. And we'll no doubt catch you in the week. G4NRC, G7NEH.
G7NEH, G4NRC. Yeah, it seems to be some satellite delay there, Graham. It took a while for me to get you. It's a call twice. Okay, thanks for streaming the net, and thanks for everybody who watches. Getting my slightly distracted face as I'm looking across several windows on 2 screens. But it does all help get the messages out to people who don't necessarily have DMR or otherwise. Okay, next to Trevor, G4KUJ, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, G4KUJ. Yeah, fine, Greg, and everybody else. All comments noted, and very interesting discussion. On the JSA call front, I've just looked back. The message you sent to me at 13:40 was mostly complete, except for the text, where there were only 6 words out of the 11 in the header received. And I think you didn't get a response to that because in one of the breaks between your transmissions, I received a heartbeat from a Dutch station and then replied to it, so effectively I doubled with you, so I wasn't receiving. But I've just checked the inbox and I see your last message to everybody has gone into my inbox, so hopefully you will have got an acknowledgement for that. And just noted that Neil M0NAS has sent me a couple of messages during the afternoon, so someone else who's going to appear on this on JS8 call, I guess. Great. Nothing further. Back to you. G4NRC, G4KUJ in the group.
G4KUJ, G4NRC. Yeah, that's correct, Trevor. I did send a message. I didn't get an acknowledgement back, and I did see, as I got the message, as I stopped sending it, I did see that somebody else had either getting a report from you or sending something. So I figured it was a double. But the system therefore worked correctly. Message received incomplete. I didn't get the acknowledgement. I should have tried again. In fact, I think I did for one of them. I sent it using normal and fast JS8 modes to try and beat the other stations, but still didn't get the app. Okay, thanks for taking part today. We'll see what the other emergency comms groups in Europe, Middle East and Africa made of it. And it's a monthly thing now, so it'll be a really hard one to report on. Right, next to Ian, Golf 3, Zulu, Hotel X-Ray. See if you can concur about folded elements being slightly better for static discharges than other things. G3ZHX, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC and the group G3ZHX. My personal preference would be a large value resistor, 100k, 1 meg, whatever, across the aerial, just to get rid of static discharge, static rain discharge. I'm not sure whether you want to bond the aerial to earth or not. There are other reasons related to the power supply why you might not wish to, unless of course you're out in the fields, which is another matter entirely. I was thinking on, very often when I'm out on RAYNET jobs, I'm running a talk through, and if I didn't get much warning, what I'd probably do is, well, maybe even if I did get warning, I'm still thinking about this one, what I'd do is retreat from the talk through, just leave it running in the field and monitor it on a handheld, which is my default position anyway. The chance of the talk through being struck by lightning is very low. The main consideration is the consequences if it is struck by lightning. The consequent risk is higher than the actual occurrence. And I think that's probably all I need to say. The storm is still coming over. It may actually be getting a bit quieter, and it seems to be heading off towards Buckingham at the moment. Though it has been quite busy around High Wycombe all the time we've been talking. So I will leave it with that, and good afternoon to you and all. Thanks for running the net, and thanks to Graham for streaming it, which I'm watching at the moment. T3ZHX, back to you, G4NRC.
Zulu Hotel X-Ray, G4NRC. No problem, thanks for taking part today, Ian, on a hot day. Too hot to be inside, if it's not raining, of course. It's getting a bit cloudy here, but hopefully, having had a good storm last night, we might avoid it this evening, but we'll see. Okay, we've got very few stations left to go, so it's Colin, 2 Echo 0, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4NRC, over.
2 Echo 0, Charlie Mike Sierra. Not much more from me. I was just monitoring the windy.com, or using the app version of it anyway. On my tablet, just monitoring the weather radar and watching the storms coming up across. Fortunately, at the moment, the storms coming up across the south coast are passing about 30 miles to the west of me. Well, there does appear to be another clump coming up, currently across, or just north of Paris at the moment, which is on the same track. It is about 30 miles east of the previous one, so that looks like it's going to pass over us if it still remains active after coming across the channel. But anyway, that's enough for me, I think. Thanks for running the net this week, Greg. I would offer to help on the 25th, but I'm actually on another event, so I'm not sure what time I'm going to be back. I'm going to be one of the last ones to close down because I'm running control, so I won't be able to help with that one, unfortunately. But anyway, back to you, G4NRC 2E0CMS.
2E0CMS, G4NRC. Okay, yeah, understood. Good luck with your event on the 25th. Of course, Graham and I, well, depending on what time Graham comes back, I usually find my trip back from Friedrichshafen is horribly disrupted by thunderstorms. It doesn't take much to disrupt Lufthansa internal transfer flights, and I've had a couple of occasions where it's been touch and go if I was actually going to get my connecting flight back to the UK, depending on local conditions. So yeah, they do know how to do storms better in mainland Europe than we do. It doesn't make us feel any better if you get struck by lightning there. Okay, thanks Colin. Talk to you soon. Next to Alan, Mike 0, Juliet Sierra Alpha, G4NRC.
Yeah, it was really nice returning. Yeah, I don't think I can help on the 25th either. We have got a 3-day horse event that weekend, and I'm not down to do the Sunday because I'm doing something else in the afternoon, and I don't think I'll get back in time. So I'm sorry, I can't commit to that. SSTV over DMR won't work, almost probably. None of the data modes work over DMR apart from perhaps carrier wave. Because well, not just DMR, any of them digital modes will use them and the codecs because it latches on to only one frequency at a time. Ian GZS has done some tests and has proven that you can't send anything over it. Not even FTA or any multi-tone at all because of the way the codec works. So yeah, slows down CD via DMR unfortunately is a no-no. Have a great week, and hope us you're alright where you are. Look at the radar map now, and there's no thunderstorms this side of the country. So I'm pleased with that. And I will disconnect the errors anyway. I'm intrigued with this idea that if you do disconnect them before unplug, you should also then perhaps short them out. I haven't come across that before. I know it's not a good idea to ground them, but I just usually just leave them unplugged. But do you need to short them out? Good question. Back to you, Greg. G4NRC, M0JS anything.
Hold up from me there, G4NRC returning. Seems to recall in my murky past opening up an RF connector and finding a lot of carbon on the inside of it, as something appeared to have flashed over, which did not help the overall performance of the system. So yeah, do get the point. If you short it out, then you just have one conductor doing its own thing rather than two that might cause some internal fault in the cable later. I might still give SSTV a try. It is a single tone mode most of the time, after all, anyway. Certainly if you just do the black and white stuff. So yeah, we'll give it a go. It's will render fairly faithfully, but I think as Trevor has found on the QO100 tests, not all data modes seem to behave very nicely over anything that's just HF or analog. Okay, thanks Alan. Hopefully talk to you next week. 2 to go, and it's Jim. Golf 7, Delta Papa Echo, G4NRC.
Yeah, G4NRC, G7DP. Yeah, thanks indeed for running the net, Greg. The storm that has arrived seems to have dissipated slightly, so Ian over in Aylesbury, just a few miles northwest of me, might be lucky this evening. It seems to have run its course. So I think I'll leave everything unplugged and certainly laid down. I've got a tilt over base on the HF rig, so on the HF antenna. So that is dead easy. It takes seconds to take it down and put it back up again. Okay, I wish everybody the best 73s and enjoy the week. It looks like we're going to have much more of the same that we've had this weekend. Thanks again, Greg, for running the net. Hopefully catch up with everybody next weekend. G4 NRC G7 DPE. Over.
G7 DPE, G4 NRC. Yeah, more of the same. It's just put me in mind that the event I assisted on for Merseyside earlier on today is quite likely still running. It's a 12.5-mile walk, but they set off at anything up to 10:30 in the morning. So they're probably still running on in these temperatures, wishing they'd got air conditioning in the control van, which sadly doesn't occur on vehicles of that vintage. Okay, talk to you soon. Thanks very much for taking part today. And Dave, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar, let's prove lightning can strike twice and your hotspot will work twice in succession. M7 AVO, G4 and RC over.
G4 NRC, M7 AVO. Yes, fingers crossed, all working. And while you were going through the last round, Mr. Amazon is bringing me some new SD cards tomorrow, so pack of 3 for 25 quid, I think it was, for a scan disk. 16 gig, that will sort out both the hotspots that are here and the new one that's under construction as we speak, the fully portable, hopefully, hotspot that I'm building. All the parts now arrived from AliExpress, so that will be quite a handy little thing. We're going to try and build a rechargeable battery inside it as well, so it can be plugged in and charged. But no, all up and well now. Just the little Humvee's down to its last legs on the battery as well, which is good, so that can have a good charge ready for whenever it's needed again. So which is it's all coming together now. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we're back working, Greg. Back to you. And thanks for taking the net, and my apologies for Monday, I think it was. Yeah, the armchair got a bit comfy and time passed. But back to you, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar.
Seven AVO, G4 and RC. Yeah, Dave and others, including myself, missed our group net on Monday night because many comfortable armchairs existed on a warm night in Cheshire. Actually, I was getting distracted by lots of other things going on, and time just passed me by. Okay, well done on getting the new SD cards from Amazon. Somewhere under the pile of stuff off to my right, I've got a bit of a rogues gallery of cards that are legitimate, and then cards that have got the right colours, but are definitely not from the original manufacturer, but via Amazon, which died unfortunately early. So I am almost getting to the point now of recognising you've got to pay for the quality ones if it's a robust application you have for them. They're not meant to be that disposable. Okay, it's been a long day, it's hot, so what I'll do is I'll pull the net to a close now and then just stay on for a couple of minutes if there's any other chat needing to be done. So thank everybody for taking time out this afternoon, and a lovely day hopefully for most of you to participate in this afternoon's net. Be careful, have a good week, and until next Sunday at 1600 hours local time, I'll close the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net and return talk groups 23531 and Brandmeister and Pheonix 50-23531 on the RAYNET server to a normal open net rather than a directed net. Thanks all, 7-3s, bye bye. G4 NRC, now going back to his normal call sign of G0 DUB.